Welcome back to Nature's Cadence Farm. Mr. Cadence here, and today we're going to be working on Babe, the 1996 Ford F250. And I've got some problems with the door. That's why I'm standing here with the door open. But so I was going to open the door one day, and I'll show you. I'll get you in here a little closer, and I'll show you what happened. But had kind of a failure. But anyways, let's get in here. I'll show you the problems I've been having. So I went to open up the door one day, and I pulled the handle, and the whole, the handle broke off. You can see the plastic that's snapped right there. So I knew it had been kind of not hard to open, but it had been kind of different to open there for a while. And so what we're going to do is we're going to replace this door handle with a metal one, since this is plastic. And I mean, it's probably original, but they offer metal ones now. So we're going to do that. And also, I'm going to try to get you in here to show you. But what I did was I kind of tested this door, and it looks like there's some play in the top of it. You can kind of hear it jiggling there. So I think those pins, well, I know those pins, the pin at the top of the hinge at least is worn. And so what that's doing is making the door sag. Since those pins are worn out, what it did is it kind of wore out that strike right there. And there's a plastic bushing that's supposed to go over top of there that helps, the door like that. Well, that's broken off and gone. So what we're going to do is go ahead and replace this bushing right here, put new hinges in, and replace this door handle over here. So I'm not sure where I'm going to start, but let's get started somewhere. Figured out I'm going to start with this strike right here. And so what we're going to need is some Torx bits, and I've got this set right here. So I'm just going to stick this in here until I find one that mostly fits, and it does. So I've got a T47 is what that is. And this one happens to be on a 3/8 drive. So I've got my ratchet here. This is a gear wrench. I'll put some links to all this stuff down below, so be sure to check that out. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try to spin that off of there. Like that. Looks like we can adjust this strike a little bit. It's got a little bit of movement in there. We'll dial it in when we get exactly where we want to get with it. But you can see once we get this off of here, this pin can get pushed out of here if we spin this kind of locking washer off of here. So I'm going to go get the new plastic bushing and put that on. So you can buy these bushings in this little 4-pack right here. And so all I'm going to do is just pop one of these out of here and replace it on here. So we'll just spin that off. You could probably pull it off too, but don't want to damage anything. So anyways, that comes off, and this unthreads, and you drop it. Then you've got your new bushing you can slide in place, and that goes right on there like that. Then you can thread this back into your bracket. It's a lot cheaper to buy these plastic ones than the whole strike. You can, definitely buy the whole strike, but there was nothing wrong with this. The pin, I caught it in time. The pin wasn't all worn out and broken and stuff, so that's a pretty good deal there. Put your washer thing back in place, and then what we're going to do is thread this back into this nut that's right here in the bracket. Well, if we can get our fingers in there. Do is just close that door. That'll make it a lot easier so you can get your hand around there. So we'll just leave that loose for now, because we'll have to go back and tighten it all up once we get the hinges in place and the handle installed. So let's go ahead and work on the handle next. So to get to the handle, you've got to take this this door panel off. And mine, I have some number 2 Phillips head screws down here. Yours might have some plastic clips or something holding it on. But I found that these screws hold the panel on very well. And what these were, I had broken the clips one time, and these are self-tapping Phillips head screws that you would use for metal studs in a building. So that's what they look like, and I'll try to find these and put some links down there for you guys to see those. So once you get that out, you've got a Phillips screw up here you got to get out, of number 2. Then you've got a couple of Phillips screws up here, and that one's broken, so we'll just leave that alone. One day I'll have to find a new switch assembly or something for this thing. I don't think I have to take all that off, but what I'm going to do, there is a bolt back here, at least on mine. It looks like a 5/16. Yours might not have that, it might, but I know when this was all broken, somebody had fixed this before me. You can see it's in rough shape, but either way, so what we're going to do is going to pull that bolt out right there, 5/16. There's that. So again, on mine, there's another Phillips head screw right down here that I've got holding everything together. So we'll pop that out of there. There we go. Alright, we got one more up here after we get that bottom one out. And this one should be in yours too. It's a Phillips head, number 2. And that's a factory screw. So on mine, at least, I've got this last 5/16 right here head screw, and I'm just going to back that out. Again, yours might be a little different. You might have the plastic clip still. I just know whoever was in here, you can see they had hot glued stuff together, and I'm sure all this stuff was just falling apart. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Keep this thing running. So once we have all the screws out, we're just going to try to pick up and move this panel around a little bit. And there we go. That popped right off of there. So once you get your panel loose, you'll see there's a light bulb right here. I'm going to go ahead and unplug that light bulb. We should be able to kind of lay the panel here over on the side to where it can, or at least on mine, I have the runner boards, and that kind of makes it nice to be able to just lay it on there. If you didn't have the runner board down there, you'd probably have to go in here and unplug this cable from that, you know, the electric switch and everything. But really what we need to get to is right here. Alright, so here's the bolt that holds the old plastic handle in place. So what I'm going to need to do is find out what size that is and back that out so we can get the new handle on. I've got an 8mm. You don't necessarily need the extension, it's just what I already had on there, and it kind of gets me away from the work a little bit so you guys can see what's going on. Alright, there we go. Got a new left-hand metal handle here, and we're going to slide that in place. So what I did was I bought a 2-pack, so I have a right hand and a left hand. I'll probably go ahead and change the passenger side out too. But I just kind of matched up the way the bracket looks like it mounted on there. So here we go. It's keyed down here. This little keyway in the bottom matches up with a piece of metal that's sticking out right below the nut part. Slide that back in place. And again, the 3-inch extension, I have done this before, so I knew I kind of needed to be out away from the work a little bit. So that's why I had the extension ready to go. And there we go. That's good to go. Perfect. Oh, that's so nice. While we're in here, I might go ahead and lube up all these mechanisms and everything, so we have less stress on this handle while we're pulling up on it. Got everything lubed up and ready to go. The new handle's nice and tight. Everything feels great with that. So what we're going to do is go ahead and put our door panel back in place, take our light and plug that back in. And that's just a 1/4 turn kind of to the right to get it back in there. So the tricky part with having the handle on there is you got to kind of pull the handle out and feed it in there at the same time. It kind of, it's a lot easier without the handle installed, but hey, you know, you gotta have a handle because lowering that window when it's raining kind of gets a little old. But there you go. So I just kind of fished it in there like that. I picked up on it with my finger and kind of fed it in there. So now you got to make sure you get your door lock to the hole and make sure this weather stripping is installed where it should be. Kind of like that, not quite, almost. There we go. Looks like I pushed down on my lock button. The electric lock doesn't work on this side, but I'm gonna move it manually and make sure it's working. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's good. I kind of like not having this automatically lock. That way I know if I accidentally hit this lock button up here, I don't accidentally lock the door on this side too. I can always manually push it down and then unlock it. You can do that with the handle too. So if it is locked, it'll just open it back up. Alright, so installation is the reverse of the disassembly. So we'll start up here with this long screw in this corner and go back around with our 5/16 screws in my case in here, and then the number 2 Phillips screws all around the bottom, and then this one up top here. Got a door panel back in place here, and door handle works great. I kind of tripped everything manually, but that's what we're looking for right there, is something that actually works. And the next step is we're gonna get these hinges off. Over here is an upper and lower hinge on this side, so on the side of the door there. And so anyways, gonna pull those off and replace those. This ought to be fun. My plan is to jack up the door with this contraption of wood and floor jack, and that'll hold weight up on the door. And I might have to use a ratchet strap up top, I don't know yet, but then the idea is to go ahead and remove these bolts for the hinge, both hinges. That way I can pull the door away from the body a little bit, because I've got the bolts that attach the hinge to the body that need to come off. So let's try that and see if it works. Plan B is to suspend the door from above. I'll drive the skid steer over here and just use a chain fall and some straps on the door. But I don't want to do that because I kind of want to show you guys, you know, a way to do it if you don't have a skid steer and a way to or a shop for that matter, and a way to suspend the door from above. But let's try this out. If it doesn't work, we'll just reconvene and do something different. So let's go ahead and get in here and get these bolts taken out of this hinge right here. I would highly suggest instead of the block and the jacks, if that's all you got, I mean, go for it. But if you could suspend it from above, you know, off of something, I would definitely do that. That seems like that's a really nice option. So here's the hinge right here, and there's two 13mm head bolts on here. I've got this gear wrench, ratcheting wrench, 13mm. Seems to work pretty well to break these things loose, at least on mine. Yours might be way tighter, I'm not sure. But that looks like it came right out, and I'd already kind of broken these loose, but you can see the ratchet fits in there just perfect for, you know, for spinning these out. So that's that one. Now let's go to the bottom hinge and see if we can get that broken loose too. I might need to put a strap, a ratchet strap or something along the top here to hold this thing up, because I'm, you know, afraid once I kind of, it's a little floppy on there. But I really want to be able to get these old hinges out, because I've got the new hinges to go in there. And really the only way I can see it, other than removing the fender, would be to get the door kind of like this way toward us a little bit, and then that way I could get the bolts out that bolt this hinge to the into the body here. So let's see what happens. I'm game, so whatever. We can, like I said, kind of fix it if something goes crazy. Might need to put a jack stand or something underneath it here, maybe. But yeah, you can see it's really getting loose now. So let's see what happens. Nice thing is it doesn't feel like it's in a big bind or anything. So I'm not thinking it's gonna fall on me. I hope it doesn't, at least. Looks like I might need to pick up on it a little bit more. And you know, believe it or not, these doors are pretty heavy. They don't look like it's sitting there, but it'd take two people to pick the thing up and get it back onto the hinge here, or other lifting aids. Alright, well there's the door off the hinges. You can kind of see it kind of bounces around a little bit. So, you know, I have electric windows, so I've got this big cable right here, this conduit right here. So the idea is be able to get the door out enough to be able to get to these bolts in here. So let's see if we can do that from the other side. So I've got these 13mm head bolts exposed here. Two of them are behind the fender, and one of them is here. So what I'm going to need is a wobble socket, and I've got a 6-inch extension on this gear wrench flex head ratchet, and so that's what I'm going to use to remove these bolts. So I've got my new hinges already, and I'll be ready to go. So here we go. Go ahead and get started loosening these up. And that swivel head, or that wobble socket, I guess, I don't know exactly what you call this thing, but a universal socket, I guess is what it's called, fits in there just perfect and is exactly what you need to break these things loose. And that one was good and tight, which is good, I guess. So, but either way, here we go. I'm going to pull all these off of here, and we'll get the old hinge out and compare it to the new one, and get that installed. All right, so there's one bolt out of there. Got a couple more, at least for this top one here. And the bottom one has 3 also. I got the old hinge out, but I saw the nut bracket behind here that holds the hinge to the body was really floppy. I didn't want it to just fall down and then I have to try to get back inside of there and get that out. So what it is, I had a magnet, and I just stuck a magnet there to kind of hold everything this way, and I'll get the next hinge started, the new hinge started with one of these back bolts, and then I'll take some needle nose and pull that magnet back out of there. But let's go ahead and check these 2 hinges and see if they're very similar, which I hope they are. I've got the 2 hinges here. I'm just, eyeballing them and everything. I had to flip this over to the open position so the angles would kind of match up when I went to bolt it back onto the door. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this started going back in there. What we'll do is we'll start with the last one that we had taken out, and that was this back corner here, top left. We'll call it this guy right here. So let's go ahead and get that one in. Went ahead and got the that one bolt started, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull this magnet out with these little forceps here. These are angled ones, so I can reach in there and get a good grip on it and pop it right out of there. So that worked out perfect. Like I said, not sure exactly what would have happened, but I wasn't willing to take any chances. So at least I know now I'm good to go. It's not gonna fall, and I can get these bolts started back in here. Just going through all these, tightening them up. I put the hinge in about a middle position, let's call it, and maybe closer toward the front of the vehicle slightly, but just going through there with this swivel socket, tightening all those up. So that should be ready to go for the door. Now let's go ahead and get this bottom bracket, or this bottom hinge on, and that's down here. Process should be the same, so I'm not going to video all that, but go ahead and get this swapped out, and that looks like the new bracket I got, or the new hinge I got anyway. So let's go ahead and get that one on. See, I got the new lower bracket on there, and it took a little finagling, and I had to use the magnet trick on that one too, because there's a back plate. I think you can get to that one pretty easily because it's behind the parking brake lever over there. You just take the actually it's the hood release lever that's right there, and so you take that plate, this piece of plastic off right here, and you can get to the plate behind there. But again, like I said, all I had to do was use the magnet trick to hold the plate in place while I got the new hinge installed. So alright, well, let's back up here and test and see how the alignment turned out. Now I did try to put the bracket, or the hinges, back onto the door where they came off of, so it should be pretty close. So let's see how I did. So if your door doesn't line up the first time, that's okay. You'll probably have to take the door back off of the 2 bolts that hold the door on, and the 3 bolts that hold the hinge, you'd have to loosen those up and slide the hinge in or out to make it work. But either way, let's see how this works. I did a little bit of that adjustment, so yeah, that's just what it's going to take. It's kind of frustrating because it takes quite a while to get it back straight again. But let's see. I'm just going to use, like 2 fingers, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So that's perfect. You can see I've got a nice reveal here all the way down and all the way at the top here. Everything looks to be, kind of squared up. And I don't know if you guys can see. I'll bring you in right down here. So this is the rear part of the front door, and you can see where it was dragging right here real bad. That's kind of how I knew when it started really beating that up real bad that it was time to go ahead and get these new hinges installed. Now I could have done the bushings and the pins and everything, but for the price of the hinges, and it really wasn't that hard. And I also, to do the bushings, you have to practically take the hinge off anyway. So I went ahead and just got new hinges, but that's why it was really dragging bad. And but now you can see it locks up nice and tight and doesn't wiggle at all. Alright, well there you go. We got these new hinges installed. We got the new strike bushings installed. We got the new handle installed. This thing is ready to ride. So thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.